Welcome back. And today's our talk is on skimming and scanning, followed by intensive and extensive reading. This is our topic today. Skimming and scanning, and followed by intensive and extensive reading. So some of us might be having the habit of reading books. Some of you might be following, following the regular news. Newspaper. You might be having the habit of reading newspaper, and some of you love to read some articles. When it comes to on your phone or somewhere else. But the thing is here, whenever we are trying to read something, we follow any one of these. Sometimes we skim, sometimes we scan, sometimes we intensely read, and sometimes we go for extensive reading. And to know what is skimming and what is scanning and what is intensive and extensive readings and how these things are going to be placed when we actually read, I'll give you best example so that you will be having an idea. So how these things are actually taken into place. Scanning, for example, take the example of scanning. What is the scanning? Don't think that a diagnostic scanning at all. This scanning is exclusively different than what that diagnostic scanning. This scanning is nothing but this happens to occur, normally happen to see in comprehension paragraphs. So where you can happen to see a paragraph followed by a set of questions. So when you go for it, so first what we do, we read questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it may be the number. So most of the paragraphs might be having 4 or 5 questions, followed by on the top of that you be having this paragraph. So what are you going to do? First, you're going to read the questions, and later you're going to check. You're going to get the answer, or your eyes roll up in order to get the answer for the question 1. So we least bother about the rest of the content. So our eyes only look for the content what we are actually looking for. So if we are reading like that, so that type of reading will comes under scanning. And in the coming class, after this, we're going to see what is skimming and what is intensive and extensive reading in the coming video. Thank you. All right, let's see more about this skimming and scanning, and followed by intensive and extensive reading. So in this video, I'm going to show you how this skimming and scanning going to be used, and extensive, the differences between extensive and as well as intensive reading. So this is not a much lengthy talk. It's going to be a short, a crispy talk. In the examination, they'll ask you to write what is the difference between skimming and scanning, or else they may ask you to write the differences between intensive and extensive reading, and where you can actually find and what kind of things that we can actually get. So this is what we're going to have. This is how we're going to get. This is how we're going to actually ask at the time of examination. So let's see what actually the skimming and scanning, and how do we actually use them in reading. So if you see the skimming, we actually skim in order to get overall impression of a paragraph or the content that we are actually reading. So when we read something, we the one who's supposed to be in the position to read. We read actually the whole paragraph, but we don't recollect each and every line or each and every word. But we can have an overall impression, overall idea about that particular paragraph or the particular thing. For example, if we are talking about a book, we don't remember the whole book, but we can have, or we're going to have a overall idea about what the book actually talks about. So that type of reading comes under skimming. When it comes to scanning, we're going to find the exact answers. That means we need what we are actually looking for, and we read it what we are actually looking for, and the entire matter, whatever it may be, that can be easily ignored. So this type of reading can be, most of the times can happen to see in a paragraph writing. So in the paragraph writing, what they do, they give a paragraph and follow comprehension paragraph. Sorry. In the comprehension paragraph, they actually give us a paragraph followed by a set of questions, so 3 or 4 or 5 questions. So for these 5 or 4 questions, we have to answer them. So when we are trying to answer to these questions, we don't bother about the whole paragraph, but our eyes look for only look for only the answers. The remaining content will be ignored. So if you are doing that type of reading, that comes under actually scanning. Let's see more examples of skimming. So this skimming can be actually seen when we are reading a newspaper. So at the time of reading a newspaper, because we just get the general news of the day. So we just take a glance and then we try to understand. Okay, this is what the news is all about. And also when it comes to websites. So when we are actually reading about some articles and all, we wanted to know some more details. Then we actually go for skimming. And also when we are actually going when we want to get some information about the business and travel brochures, and also we actually browse through a book to see if you want to read this or not. So we generally have reviews. We generally go through the reviews and we try to read it, and we'll get an idea, okay, whether this can be read or not. And sorry, whether it can be read or not. So next, we're going to the next point, look through the television guide to see what's on one evening. So all these things are actually the example. All these are actually standing for an example of skimming, and which actually happens in our daily life, which where we actually don't notice them. And next one is here scanning. So how are we going to, as I told you here, so here you are seeing the information about the looking for a BC Hydro website. So we are talking, we gave a paragraph regarding to this one, and they're giving an instruction, that is you have to read the questions on the next slide. In the next slide we're going to have the questions, and as well as for which you have to answer as quickly as possible. And these are the questions. So who is handling inquiries? And remember one thing, when you go for comprehension paragraphs, make sure first thing that you have to do, as we are going to have a limited time in it, first thing you have to read the questions and then go for the answer. Don't read the paragraph and don't go, and later don't go for don't look into these what do you call these questions. What happens there, you're going to kill the time. These comprehension, reading a comprehension paragraph, that time actually kills the time. So to save the time, what you have to do, you have to read the questions first and followed by the paragraph, so that whatever the answer that you're looking for, you can easily get it. See here, there's some three questions are actually made here. Who is handling inquiries? What is the after hours media line? What is a good example? BC Hydro Clean Energy Project. So when you actually read the questions, we can easily find out the answers. You getting me? So that is the reason when it comes to scanning, we ignore the rest of the content and we focus only the content what we actually looking for. See here. So this is what actually the content is all about, and followed by the answers will be the answers will be given to the questions. Let's see the differences between skimming and scanning, and how can actually we define this one. So in skimming we have fast reading, and when it comes to scanning, we have a technique using when we want to look at a single fact or specific bit of information without reading every word. We don't read the whole paragraph. We don't read the whole paragraph, but we only read one word or one sentence and try to assume, okay, this is the paragraph is all about. And get main idea, not all details. We just get what we are actually looking for. And next, we must leave out parts. We least bother about these out parts. And when it comes to the paragraph, once you have the main idea of the paragraph, so in between these calculations, we actually have a main idea. So comprehension is low. Try to comprehend as much as you can while reading at an average speed. Comprehension, understanding level is very low, because you don't try to understand each and every context which is actually being replaced no displayed there. That's the reason. And we only comprehend, only we can only understand 50%. That's it. We don't remember each and everything. And it twice as fast, usually done with material you know nothing about. And sometimes we going through certain materials. When we are going through that, we usually have this comprehensive idea about the paragraph or the material that we are actually reading about. Note, as speed increases, comprehension decreases. So here an important road that you have to understand. Here the reading will be increased, but understanding levels will be decreased. That is the main problem with this skimming, and these are the points that actually comes under skimming. And let's see how are we going to scan when you read. So example, scan TV listenings in a paper to find to time show. Sometimes even we look for, if I'm not mistaken, these days we everything is advertised. But earlier days we have newspapers. In the newspapers, it will be displayed. It will be said that at this time the so and so movie will be played in the film, in the TV, or something, some information will be given. So when we are looking for that, we least bother about the remaining content. We look what we actually wanted to get. A phone directory when you want to see a show, and even if you wanted to go for the something kind of show, we just go for the phone directory, and fast way to find the information. So when we are trying to read some information, so we find we actually go for the content what we are actually looking for. The rest will be ignored. So must be accurate in terms of finding a specific TV show or phone, and often done with the material that you know something about. And for example, here you are given a material. So when we are talking about that, or when you are looking about that, you going to pay no keen attention towards that. So this is how the skimming and scanning will be no like. Yeah. And next, moving on to the next topic, that is intensive and extensive reading. So when it comes to intensive and extensive reading, it is word for word. So we're going to read word to word, and as well as it mainly focuses on grammar and vocabulary. But when it comes to extensive reading, just like skimming, so we get the overall idea, and it fast and ignores the unknown facts, unknown words. For example, when you're reading a paragraph, so what happens here, we least bother about the words which we are actually not aware of, but we still love to do that reading. So if you are doing that type of reading, that comes under extensive reading. And this is how the intensive and extensive how reading goes. Let's see the small comparison here. So intensive reading mainly focuses on vocabulary and as well as grammar to understand the concepts. So it actually the main focus will be on word to word, and we actually read word to word, and followed by, as you're seeing as you're seeing here, we read word to word, and followed by we also ensure grammar and as well as vocabulary. And also what happens here when we are going for word to word reading, so our reading level will be very slow, but you'll be having 10% comprehension levels. Okay, but it has very limited reading levels, and sometimes you have to face difficulties when reading the text, and used we have to use dictionary in order to understand some words. But whereas extensive reading is completely different, it is mainly focusing on the content in order to get the main idea and filling the details. For that sake only, we actually go for extensive reading, where most of the people actually go for intensive extensive reading only. And fluent in we can be very fluent in reading, but here we have to read word to word. And here our reading actually goes very slow, but here it is very fast, even pace. And you can have overall understanding, but you can here, if you compare with intensive, you're going to have 10% on it. That means here it could be 80%, or it could be 90%, but not exactly 100%. So here you have a very limited reading, but here you have you're going to read a lot. So here you have a difficult text when it comes to the reading, but when it comes to this extensive reading, you're going to pick up, are we going to read easy text? Ignores and guess unknown words. We assume according to the context. If possible, we guess, okay, this could be the meaning of that, or else we may ignore. So this is how intensive and extensive reading goes when it comes to as part of reading. So in the exam, they may ask you to write the differences between intensive and extensive reading, or they may ask you to write the differences between skimming and scanning. Okay, then that is how you have to write. And they may ask you the example for skimming and scanning. Then you can use all these things. So the skimming can be happen when we are reading newspaper, or when we're going for when we are looking into websites and business and travel brochures, and when we are browsing through when we are browsing about a book, and also when we are actually looking for television guides, there we can actually see the skimming can happen. And scanning, we actually, when it comes to that, we're going to look for the exact content what we are actually looking for. Yeah, that is how it actually plays. So this is how the intensive and extensive reading plays an important role when it comes to the reading. So this is what is all about the topic called skimming and scanning and intensive and extensive reading. If you see, if you want some more information regarding to this one, or if you still have any queries regarding to this, you can call me or ping me on WhatsApp. Thank you.